TAAT is a flagship program of the African Development Bank's Feed Africa strategy. It seeks to double crop, livestock, and fish productivity by expanding access to productivity-increasing technologies for over 40 million African smallholder farmers across Africa. Since its inception in 2018, TAAT scales proven technologies for integration in large-scale agriculture projects financed by the African Development Bank, helping to drive agricultural transformation across the continent. TAAT is a partnership that brings together key stakeholders in a unique delivery framework. TAAT provides technology expertise and implementation assistance through 11 commodity compacts, supported by 6 enabler compacts. The TAAT Program Management Unit oversees the compact activities, while TAAT Clearinghouse is responsible for vetting technologies and marketing them to the public and private sector partners. The Clearinghouse, with support from the Gates Foundation, actively sources the best technologies and innovations from the CGIAR and other developers. These are profiled, vetted through an independent committee, and showcased on the TAAT e-catalogs. TAAT offers 3 e-catalogs for decision-makers in governments, the private sector, and development partners. Each e-catalog presents technology profiles, prioritizing information that is particularly relevant to the audience. The e-catalogs provide powerful functionality to help users locate the technologies they need, a search tool, filters, and easy browsing from a preview list. Technology profiles present all the relevant information needed to decide if the technology is the right solution to the problems at hand. They can be translated into major languages, and a one-page summary or pitch of the profile can be downloaded in PDF format. Users can create collections of selected technologies. They are called toolkits and use the same search and filter interface as the e-catalogs. Toolkits can be shared as links or saved as collections of pitches in PDF format. We currently showcase over 175 agricultural technologies and always look for new ones to add. The technologies featured in the e-catalogs are used by country engagement and private sector engagement teams to advise governments and private sector decision-makers on the best technologies for their projects. The Clearinghouse brokers TAAT-vetted technologies to decision-makers and government officials, ensuring that proven technologies are integrated into large-scale agricultural investment projects financed by the AFDB, ISDB, and other international financial institutions, IFIs. Upon invitation from the AFDB and other IFIs to join a project design mission or subsequent missions, the Clearinghouse mobilizes experts from TAAT compacts and forms a country engagement team. The team matches its country intelligence with TAAT-vetted technologies from the e-catalogs to produce a compelling value proposition for a specific project. The value proposition is presented to decision-makers and government officials for their buy-in, resulting in the inclusion of game-changing technologies and implementation assistance in large-scale agricultural investment projects. Working with the African Development Bank, the TAAT integrated 71 cases of technologies and implementation assistance in 21 projects across 24 countries, financed through the AFDB African Emergency Food Production Facility, AEFPF, which is the bank's emergency response to the food crisis in Africa due to the Russian and Ukraine conflict. TAAT influenced $857 million worth of investments financed by AEFPF. Of this amount, $4.13 million was allocated to the TAAT compacts by recipient countries for implementation support to deploy the technologies. 165 cases of TAAT technologies were integrated into 22 projects financed through the AFDB African Development Fund, which provides concessional financing to the bank's regional member countries, RMC. TAAT influenced $2.17 billion worth of investments financed through the African Development Fund. Of these, the benefiting countries allocated $12.6 million to TAAT compacts for implementation support to deploy technologies. An example of TAAT's impact can be seen in Jigawa State in northwest Nigeria. In 2022 to 2023, wheat was cultivated on 70,000 hectares. By 2023 to 2024, this area grew to 118,000 hectares, and in 2024 to 2025 it more than doubled again to reach 250,000 hectares. With strong backing from the government, the African Development Bank and TAAT, Jigawa is on track for an even bigger leap. By 2030, the state aims to cultivate 500,000 hectares, enough to supply almost half of Nigeria's total wheat demand. Another example of TAAT's impact is the production of early generation seed for high-iron beans in Malawi, which went up from 43 metric tons in 2022 to 312 metric tons in 2025, while certified seed production went from 350 metric tons in 2022 to 1,175 metric tons. The number of households that accessed quality seed of improved bean varieties rose from just under 16 million in 2015 to well over 90 million in 2023. In Uganda, the export value of beans rose from $85 million in 2018 to $132 million in 2022, making beans the third most important agricultural commodity export after fish and sugar. A third example is TAAT's deployment in the Democratic Republic of Congo of the semi-autotrophic hydroponics technology SAH, which led to the production of over 100 million Isla generation cassava seeds, which indirectly impacted over 3 million households. Families that once struggled for food security are now generating income, investing in children's education, and strengthening their resilience against climate shocks. A transformation of this scale not only strengthens food security, but also proves what's possible when the right technologies meet the right partnerships. Looking forward, the Clearinghouse has mapped pipeline investment projects, which include AFDB large-scale agricultural investments under formulation during 2025 worth $1 billion. AFDB large-scale agricultural investments in the pipeline for 2025 and 2026 are worth $1.63 billion. Additionally, the AFDB pipeline's large-scale investment projects and projects of other IFIs have been mapped in partnership with GCA for 2025 to 2030 and are worth $1.75 billion. Lastly, the Dakar 2 Food Security Delivery Compacts are mapped from 2025 through 2030 and are worth $62.9 billion. TAAT's focal commitment to food systems transformation is incomplete without its deliberate engagement with the private sector. The private sector is a critical partner in driving innovation and investment. By adopting and scaling up new technologies, it contributes to revolutionizing agricultural practices, increasing incomes, and improving the livelihoods of farmers in Africa. TAAT's private sector engagement includes linking the private sector with large-scale agricultural investment programs, directly engaging the private sector to adopt TAAT technologies, and participating in major agricultural events and fairs to build networks and partnerships. An important initiative that supports this strategy is the African Cereal and Legume Breeding Consortium, ACLBC, created in collaboration with the African Seed Trade Association, AFSTA. ACLBC is scaling the adoption of elite varieties and hybrids by facilitating linkages between seed companies and CGIAR centers, ultimately improving farmer access to quality seeds. This year, the ACLBC hosted private seed companies from across Africa at its demonstration plot in Njoro, Kenya, where they assessed for adoption the performance of the consortium's 52 climate-smart and high-yielding varieties of cereals and legumes during the ACLBC's 2025 annual workshop and field demonstration. Some of our achievements include 23 private seed companies adopting 43 climate-smart TAAT-vetted seed technologies, and 20 more cases of adoption are in advanced stages. Engaging the private sector is a challenge we are happy to take on. The Clearinghouse envisions its future as a global pathway for deploying vetted CGIAR technologies, leveraging the funding of international financial institutions. It will soon start a transition phase, at the end of which it will be fully part of CGIAR's Scaling for Impact program, giving it a secure place and a clear mission to scale proven innovations through major agricultural projects. This stronger position will be backed by a steady annual budget of $3.5 million from multiple sources, boosting its capacity to deliver. This transition will also see the Clearinghouse formalize its relationship with several IFIs in the form of paper service contracts. With this stability, The clearinghouse will expand its project support by integrating at least 70 cases of CGIAR innovations into large-scale investment projects worth over $500 million, while working more closely with major financial institutions to keep the model both scalable and sustainable. At the onset of this transition phase, the TAAT program deeply appreciates the support of the African Development Bank, the Gates Foundation, and a host of our partners and stakeholders as we facilitate African food systems transformation.